My name's Meg Zold. We found this place biking along the Chicago lakefront. We were riding through Hammond. We went a little bit differently, and we saw an art gallery sign, and we came in.
And you're from Prospect Heights.
Yes, we are. We'll drive down here because it's worth it. It's like a wonderful mix of talent. All kinds of different things happen here.
All right, in this order, Emily Watson. Bob Snare.
I think what differentiates this place is the charm of David Mueller and his skill at being master of ceremonies. He's got great humor, he's got just love for the arts and appreciation for people's creativity, and who is a wonderful, wonderful guardian and foster father for all the artists in the community.
When word came that some 46 vehicles, cars, SUVs, and more than a dozen semi-trucks were involved.
Our kids, everybody travel that highway every day, so we start calling everybody, and then I'm originally from Ohio, so my family from Ohio started calling when they heard Michigan City to make sure me and my family and my parents and everybody were okay.
Both Martin and Laurie are used to the heavy lake effect snowfall that comes with living along the southern tip of Lake Michigan, but they're still amazed at how weather conditions can turn on a dime like yesterday.
I think that when you get weather like this, it's very unexpected, and it comes out of nowhere, and whiteouts come out of nowhere, and the roads form ice, and people drive too fast. They need to slow down.
If you had to predict, do you think the Indiana General Assembly will eventually approve this measure and allow the voters to decide in the fall, or do you think it's going to outright fail because of changing attitudes?
If this doesn't go through in November, which I fully believe will not happen because of the changes, 2 years is going to make a huge difference. If you read the material now, when they first introduced this in 2011 and now it's 2014, there has been a huge swing in the opinion poll of whether anybody even really cares what we're doing. And that's what's important. They want us to have equal rights. Domestic partnerships, civil unions, any of these above items, that's what we're going for now. This is going to impact us for the rest of our lives. It's important. Indiana's important. Our family in Indiana are important. Don't let this opportunity for equal rights be the wrong decision.
Beyond the weather, there's another problem. Liz and her mother, Lily, live just a few blocks from the Calumet River, where large piles of pet coke are being stored by KCBX terminals. Lily Martin remembers gathering it in buckets for her parents, who used it as dirt.
That time we used to walk by the bridge and we would get it, but we never knew that pet coke was bad, and we would get it. Maybe that's why my mom and dad, they're young. They died 65, 60.
Martin is one of several Southeast Side residents suing KCBX for creating a health hazard and diminishing property values. Meanwhile, politicians are tripping over themselves to show support for the residents of this often neglected corner of the city.
What blows off those piles accumulates in this neighborhood, in the lungs of the people who are living in this neighborhood.
And this particular neighborhood on the southeast side of Chicago has been hampered and hurt by this fugitive dust, as it's called.
This is a very significant public health matter. Don't let any of these companies tell you otherwise.
Indiana put in place a set of regulations to deal with Petco. The state of Illinois and the city of Chicago did not.
The next time they hit a basketball floor, it will be at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, home to the NBA's Pacers. Bowman is playing for its third state title in 4 years, unheard of even in this basketball-crazed corner of Indiana. The school only started competing 6 years ago, and boy, do they compete.
5, now 4, 3, 2 seconds. Your winner, 1A state championship, Bowman Academy out of Gary, Indiana.
A couple years ago, nobody knew who Bowman was. We couldn't play a good team for nothing.
That's 6'5" guard Devon Dillard, a junior who's already being pursued by the likes of Indiana and Michigan State.
Coming to Bowman, I've been playing in some of the biggest championship games I've ever played, and being able to go down the state every year on my team, that's a good feeling.
But Bowman's quick rise also reveals just how far some of the other Gary schools have fallen, and not just in basketball.
We get a lot of criticism, but we just stay humble, We focus, we play hard, we got a good coach in Marvin Ray.
When we first started, there was some animosity. Actually didn't play the Gary schools. They opted not to play us.
The BP oil spill affected a shallow cove between the massive refinery and a steel mill. Company officials say it will not spread farther into the lake. BP spokesman Scott Dean says the spill happened yesterday afternoon, but was quickly stopped. Juan Lariano's been fighting to prevent the demolition of Marktown for years now. But this morning, shortly after 9, a bulldozer began wrecking the first of 10 historic buildings.
It's heartbreaking. These people don't care.
Oil giant BP purchased the buildings from a private seller. The company plans to use the land as green space.
At this point, it appears that MERS picked the wrong hospital, the wrong state, and the wrong country to try to get a foothold.
That is Dr. William Van Ness, the head of the Indiana State Health Commission, speaking today at Community Hospital in Munster, Indiana. That's where the first known case of the deadly Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, or MERS, was reported in the United States.
The photos of 4-year-old Dasani Young and his 3-year-old sister Alexia hang on the walls of a Northwest Indiana home. The two lived there for about a year until last summer.
I think about them constantly. Once in a while, I'll still find something of theirs in the house. Like the other day, I was doing laundry and cleaning out my laundry room, and I found Dasani's Superman. Well, there's the tears.
That's the voice of the children's foster mother. She asked WBEZ not to use her name to protect the foster children she's still caring for.
When kids come into this house, yes, they have a mom and dad. I'm not trying to replace them, but as long as you live here, you're my babies. Okay, it's my job to take care of you.
The foster mom says the job of caring for Dasani, Alexia, and another sibling ended for her late last June. She says that's when an order to return the children to their birth parents was executed by the juvenile court in Lake County, Indiana.
Was I afraid for them to go home? Yeah. Dasani begged the caseworker not to make him go.
I can tell you that we ordered an investigation as this agency to find out if we dropped the ball, where we dropped the ball, to make sure it would never happen again.
That's Mary Beth Bonaventura, the head of Indiana's Department of Child Services. She spoke to me last week at her office in Indianapolis about the decision to reunite the children with their parents.
Anybody who had contact with those children appeared in court and testified and were in agreement that the children go home.
Retired Gary police officer Kenneth Shannon has attended a lot of funerals over the years. Some of his fallen comrades died in car accidents and others were shot. Today, Shannon watched from a balcony seat in a downtown Gary convention center as dozens of law enforcement officers walked past a closed casket. Inside was the latest to die in the line of duty, Gary Patrolman Jeffrey Westerfield.
He was a very personable person, well-liked guy. And it's just a tragedy, man, that someone would think of doing something like this to an officer.
The officer's death has raised questions about whether Gary police have enough resources to protect the city and themselves. This week, WBEZ's Michael Puente tagged along with the Gary cop on the night shift. He has this story.
Then I met Gary Patrolman Jeff Tatum. The 6'2" native of Chicago's South Side didn't seem worried at all. This despite the fact that for the next 8 hours, he'll be patrolling a city that used to be known as the murder capital of the U.S., the same city where fellow cop Jeffrey Westerfield was found dead earlier this month, alone in his squad car with multiple gunshot wounds.
You're not like us. You're not young like us. Y'all didn't have to worry about this back in the day. So you telling me bodies was dropping every day back in the day like this?
24-year-old Schultz joined the Maryville Police Department a little more than a year ago. Officer Robert Wiley says Schultz was a high school football star in a nearby town.
Officer Schultz was a very good kid. We had very high hopes for him.
Wiley spoke near Schultz's squad car, which on Sunday night was covered in black draping in the parking lot of the Maryville Police Department. Schultz died Sunday morning at Advocate Christ Medical Center in suburban Oak Lawn. He was taken there after being shot in the head while responding to a call about an evicted tenant on Friday evening. Meanwhile, Maryville's police chief Joseph Petrush says Schultz was an outstanding person.
He's the type of guy that you'd hope your daughter would bring home and want to marry, and he always wanted to make a difference when he came to work. He comes from an outstanding family.
The Hoosier State is sitting on billions of dollars in extra cash, but in Illinois, they're looking under the couch cushions for money to pay the bills. Our question asker wanted to know, how can two states right next to each other be so different financially?
They asked me what it was like. I said, well, sort of like living next door to the Simpsons, you know? Dysfunctional family on the block, and we're looking in the window.
Oh, I have 3 kids and no money. Why can't I have no kids and 3 money?
So does this mean Indiana is Ned Flanders?
Daddy, what do taxes pay for? Oh, why, everything. Policemen, trees, sunshine. And let's not forget the folks who just don't feel like working, God bless them.
In his speech last night, President Obama spoke about the kind of immigrants he hopes to help with his executive action.
Most of these immigrants have been here a long time. They work hard, often in tough, low-paying jobs. They support their families. They worship at our churches.
That includes St. Mary's Catholic Church in East Chicago, Indiana, a majority Hispanic working-class city just over the state line. The church is expecting lots of undocumented immigrants in the days ahead.
We're going to be swamped with people.
Jose Busto runs the church's Casa Santo Toribio. Hundreds of families regularly seek immigration assistance from his small staff.
Basically, we're telling the folks to start gathering all the documents that they have to prove that indeed they have been here, from the day they are going to claim that they got here.
The video, of course, is of a recent traffic stop of driver Lisa Mahone and passenger and friend Jamal Jones for a minor seatbelt violation. Mahone's teenage son began recording the incident on his cell phone from the back seat. In the video, Hammond police officers asked Jones to get out of the vehicle, but he doesn't. One of the officers eventually smashes the passenger side window and uses a taser on Jones before they drag him out and arrest him. Since the incident came to light, McDermott's been fending off comparisons by the national media and others to what happened in Ferguson, Missouri 2 months ago.
They want this to be another Ferguson, but it's not, and it's not going to be.
The mayor supports the actions of his officers, saying the cell phone video doesn't tell the whole story.
The video that they've seen is 3 minutes long of a 13-minute traffic stop. A lot of stuff happened that led up to this video.
The chant that's been heard from Ferguson to New York City came to Hammond City Hall yesterday afternoon. Many talked about the recent traffic stop where Hammond police are accused of using excessive force in arresting a black male passenger. But Leslie Claret said Hammond isn't alone in Northwest Indiana in profiling black motorists.
Your Dyers, your Maryvilles, your Chervilles, the injustice is very horrible. Policemen in the area really needs to think about people. Everyone that's stopped is not a criminal.
Accused serial killer Darren Vann allegedly told police he messed up by killing his last victim in Hammond instead of neighboring Gary. But another mistake might have been taking the life of a woman who was actively in touch with someone at an online escort service. And that eventually led to Vann's arrest in Gary the next day. It's unclear how many of the women Vann allegedly killed were involved in the sex trade. Court documents suggest at least 2. But we do know this: some of the victims were never reported missing.
When I first started hearing about it, it really broke my heart. No one was looking for them. It's a sad way to end your life. And it was somebody's daughter at some point.
There you go. That is the sound of Jenny Rivera, a Mexican-American artist who was one of the few females to sing that style of Mexican regional music known as banda, and it's that heavy horn, the oompa sound that gives banda its distinctive flavor. Jenny Rivera was a superstar among banda music lovers, but her life was cut short when she died in a plane crash in 2012. Now, there are some who wonder if there was foul play involved. That and other stories are included in the new book, Jenny Rivera, the Diva of Banda Music. Its author, WBEZ's own Michael Puente. He's here with us now. Hello.
Hello, Tony.
Okay, you're laughing.
That gets a little bit different for me, right?
Yeah, what was the motivation behind this?
Tony, really, I kind of, was aware of Jenny Rivera, but back in January, I was simply approached by a local publisher, Triumph Books in Chicago, who Triumph Books is known for doing a lot of sports publications and even, other celebrity books like, Kelly Dooley says it doesn't take much for he and his friends to celebrate, but on Monday night, Dooley raised his glass for a toast at a restaurant in Crown Point, Indiana.
Congratulations on the court ruling from the Supreme Court, and that now we have the right to choose whether you want to get married or not, which is awesome.
You can marry who you love.
And here comes those plans. Cheers!